Um, I'm gonna start off before really getting into any of the other details. You might all notice there's big bright green text towards the bottom there. There is no date for early access. That's right. August 47th has already passed. We're already in September. The game has not gone into early access. It's probably going to be a little bit. So, uh, yeah. So, welcome everybody. This is H1Z1 Dead Feature Rant. I am your host, Legendary Neurotoxin. Over on screen left here is Daddio66, who is, I believe, been on previous episodes of this show, definitely on other shows on the channel for sure. And Kremchek over on the right, who's a new face on the show here. And both of you fine folks were at SOE Live, and that's where you got the lovely headgear that you've got, and of course you've got the SOE Live shirt on too. Oh, wrong direction. Kremchek, rocking my shirt that I got at the block party there. Yeah, we all got a chance to play it, and kind of seeing that build versus the PAX build. It's been it's like a real contrasting difference between the builds in a lot of different ways. So I guess that's definitely going to be one of the points to focus on here. And I guess let's get into it, and then towards the end of the show we'll probably do more extended introductions and where everybody's at, because I've noticed people just want to get into the information when they tune in. So, was there anything in particular you guys have seen from PAX or anything since SOE Live that has really stuck out to you, or really been like, oh man, I wish I knew about that, or oh man, that's so awesome, I can't wait to see it? Or has it just been kind of a slow week in news for the game at this point?
One thing that I liked coming right out of SOE Live was that they were going to decide to, or Jimmy tweeted this out, that he was going to take the axe out of the game right to start.
Yeah.
So nobody was going to have a weapon right away, except a flashlight, I guess, if you consider that a weapon.
You'll get something, I believe.
I think that he just said that you're going to have a flashlight, and you're going to have to punch the trees down to begin with.
No, you're not going to be punching trees down. If anything, it'd be kicking the trees down like, was that? It was either Kickboxer or Bloodsport. It was definitely one or the other.
I don't know.
I don't know. But yeah, the whole kicking down a banana tree or whatever. But yeah, no, I don't believe that's the case. I'm pretty sure it's that we have to actually scour in houses to find a hatchet or a wood axe to be able to work with and cut down a tree with. There's not really any way to, just bring down part of a tree, like the tear off a branch or saw it off with something, or cut it off with a machete or something smaller. But that might be a feature they would add later, because it might be nice just to be able to have something that can be crafted into sticks and not necessarily drop an entire tree and only get the logs.
That would definitely be an interesting addition, to be able to knock off limbs or even tear them off if you didn't have a machete.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
For lesser materials.
And they'd said that they use the program Speed Tree to handle the drawing and placement of their trees. So I'm wondering if I believe that's a functionality that Speed Tree has, to be able to modularly break sections off of it as well.
Mm.
Well, from what I've seen with the the new cutting down, it seems like you can cut down a tree a lot faster than you used to. Did I mute something?
Nope, we hear you just fine. I just
Okay.
cut my mic so you didn't hear me sipping this fine brew here.
It looks like they did the animations. They cranked up the animations on the using the axe to do the wood cutting and stuff, from what I've seen on the PAX videos compared to what I saw at SOE Live. They smoothed it out, made it a little more faster, and you're actually receiving the wood before the tree hits the ground.
Oh, that's funny.
That was a little bit of a difference.
And it's not the difference of just doing the combos on the tree. It's actually, it appears the entire thing is faster.
Yeah, compared to what I saw at SOE Live. watching a little bit of that PAX footage that you sent me, the tree cutting, instead of chop 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 chop, now it's just like chop 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 chop, and it's a lot more fluid. So
I
I'm going
see.
to say more fluid than it used to be.
Gotcha.
So it looks like they're making progression in the right direction.
Right direction, yes. Progression in the right
And
direction.
in that video, they had mentioned, or someone had asked if there was, if it was faster to cut down a tree in third person, which it definitely looked like it was, but they said that it's not intended if it looked like that.
Yeah, I don't know that there's any mechanic where one camera versus the other is going to change the attributes of anything. So I'm pretty sure it really is just a pacing thing of watching the hands doing it versus watching the entire character doing it. It probably is the exact same speed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
cool stuff.
It looks like they also picked up the speed fighting zombies a bit. It's more fluid there too.
Yes.
Yeah,
Um,
the
It
swing.
definitely
Go ahead.
easier to kill the zombies.
Well, there was some amount of that. It was also, it seemed like maybe it's the combo system that they cranked up the speed on, the ability to hit again after your first hit, because that's what I saw a lot of, was using the knife or using the hatchet on the tree. It seemed like it was working fairly well to keep the combos going. I can't remember. I didn't watch too much of the I guess it was Gold Glove and Jericho because they were just kind of screwing around. But I can't remember what it was like watching them cutting down a tree and possibly not comboing on it to see what the speed difference was. Because if it was really significant, then yeah, it's definitely the combo system. But if not, then it was just that the speed in general has been cranked up. And I could see that being done because it was taken away from the new player. So they said the wood axe is actually now a really formidable weapon.
Yeah, from
which
what I
it
saw.
looks like this. Yeah. Sorry, go
So
ahead.
from what I played at SOE Live, it was just like when you're fighting the zombies, you would rush in, you'd hit them once, and then you'd have to try to back off and get away until you were ready to hit them again. And it looks like that's just not the case now, that you can just kind of go at them.
Yeah, a little bit, and I think that also they were saying, and this is something Clegg said to be very clear to everybody, that the game is at the state that pretty much every game is before it's been released, where things don't seem like they have the right amount of health or the right amount of speed to them, or everything seems out of balance. Well, that's right, because it is, because the final balancing pass hasn't been done yet. Everything's been
Right.
done at this point for internal testing or press releases and media demos. So to that extent, yeah, everything's still in flux and it's changing from build to build. This build definitely looks like a lot more fun than the one that we got to play at SOE Live, and I think they really took all of our collective feedback from SOE Live and used that to build a better build to bring to PAX. So that's really smart on their part.
And I like what they're doing. Just when they're streaming at SOE Live and PAX and everything, they're still asking for viewer suggestions. So that's really cool. Like the one in the last video that we saw, where Adam and another guy were streaming the H1Z1 at the last day of PAX. They said that, Adam came out and said, "Hey, would you like to start with a bullet or two in each gun? Or would you just like to have it how we have it now and just have no bullets and you have to go find bullets?" And it was a resounding yes to, we want at least a bullet in guns. Maybe a random gun will have a bullet or something like that. So it's really cool that they are taking the suggestions and could implement something like that.
You know what? That's actually a point that I've written down. I've got 5 little post-it notes here full of notes, so I'll just kind of scratch that one off the list, and let's kind of talk about that for a moment. So,
Yeah.
should guns start with ammo? Now, keep in mind, even though you can't just rip off your shirt and chop down a tree and you've got a bow and arrows immediately, and it's a little bit more difficult to get a bow, there's still a lot of merit to bows. If you've got one hatchet and a bunch of random cloth, you can arm a bunch of people with bows. The arrows are silent, you can recover them, and they're, you can make more arrows. It's the only ammo you can actually make more of. So there's a lot of merit to bows, but should somebody find a gun, it starting with ammo or not, I kind of feel like it really depends on what mechanics they're actually going to have for firearms. If we're going to have magazines, if so, did you find a firearm that's got a magazine in it or not? If it has a magazine in it, maybe it would have a bullet. If it doesn't have one, maybe it's got one in the chamber. But I would imagine if it's a firearm with no magazine, that last bullet was probably the person taking their own life. Because zombie apocalypse is super scary. So what do you guys think about it? Like for weapons that have a magazine versus weapons that don't have a magazine, like a single shot hunting rifle or a shotgun, like a stagecoach shotgun or something that you crack it open in the middle to put the bullets in. Do you feel like that should make a difference on whether or not you find ammo with the weapon?
Well, I'm thinking most of the weapons have already been used trying to stay alive. So if you find a weapon with ammo, you're pretty damn lucky.
Yeah.
You're at that point where you have the zombie apocalypse, you have the zombies and the animals upon you. Using whatever ammo you have in your gun before you die, great, but maybe one or two bullets might be left. So I can see finding a gun with one or two bullets, nothing more. That's the way I would feel about it. The hardest part is trying to find more ammo once you find the gun, period. And that should be the most elusive part of it, as far as I'm concerned.
I'm thinking if we have a zombie apocalypse, some people are going to have guns in their homes when they die. Some people are going to have them loaded, some people aren't. And if they don't have them loaded, they might have ammo somewhere else in the house, say a gun safe. And maybe I'm getting a little bit too detailed in it, but maybe you have to pick the lock to the gun safe to get the bullets. Maybe you have to go find something else to be able to break the safe or something like that. It's like every gun should not have bullets, because that wouldn't be the case in real life. But some definitely would.
It seems like if there's a house with 2 or 3 guns in it, and I know everything's just randomly spawning based on stuff that they've kind of built into it, but it seems like a house that's got 2 or 3 guns is going to have a lot of stashes of ammo, or at least one big stash of ammo. So it's almost
Right.
with something like that a question of has somebody else already looted it, or
Right.
has the loot system determined that the place has already been looted of its ammo, but the guns were left behind. And then that would also bring up the question, why were the guns left behind? Are they low durability?
Right. And you could also bring that into the PvP sense, where I don't know if it's going to change, but so far you really have to pick what you carry. So you can't carry everything that you want to carry on your body, because there's just not enough space. So if you have, your own established house that you've built or you've taken over, then maybe you'll have to store some guns away, and that would just determine. And someone could break in and steal that, and that could determine whether you find ammo with your guns as well, and the durability and such.
That's definitely a good point. And you're right about the storage capacity being kind of low. That's something I've noticed with everybody who plays the game, even the developers. The inventory space to do things that you need to do is just extremely limited, so much that you really can't do that much collecting of things and crafting early on, because you'll get a lot of one part of a 2 or 3 part item, and then you'll have to make choices at some point of which ones you need to ditch, so you've got part 2 of the 3-part item to be able to actually go forward with it. So there's or trying to break down the items that you have in your inventory. As far as I'm concerned, that's almost as the same as having to do inventory Tetris, like you would see in a game like Diablo, for example, where things have differential sizes, because it's still a process where you're having to stop and manage things in your inventory before you can collect more stuff and move forward. So how do you guys feel about the current amount of inventory space? First, before that, did you guys have anything else you want to say on the subject of ammo capacity and finding ammo with the weapons?
Nope.
No, not really. Like I say, it's going to be, if you find a gun with one or two bullets, great. But it's probably going to be a 99.1% chance that you're not going to find any other ammo in the immediate area
Yeah.
to fit that gun in particular. So,
Well, that definitely could be the case. I also think of some weapons. It's you've got a shotgun and you've got 3 rounds for it. Great. So you've got one to cause noise and summon the zombie horde, one more to let them know for sure exactly where you're at, and then you've got one left to shoot your buddy so that they go for them instead of you, and then you're out of ammo because they're loud. Firearms are loud. They're a liability to use. I would say download Unturned. It's a free game on Steam. Do the hardcore mode. Find a firearm, fire it off, and see how quickly the swarm just murders you. There's nothing you can do about it at that point. So, same sort of thing. There's so much risk factor in owning and using a firearm as it is that it's almost a good thing that at least in the earlier areas you probably won't be seeing nearly as much ammo for the weapon, so you don't have noobs just going around firing off, hitting or missing, but pretty much just summoning the horde in nearby radius. So
One other thing that I would mention about weapons is kind of the durability part, where I would like to see where you find a weapon, it seems like it's probably okay. So your initial reaction that the durability would be high, but maybe it's has a malfunction at some point. So a gun would jam, bowstring would break, something like that, just to make it a little bit more dangerous in the world, to where you could be using a weapon, but you have to make sure that you have a backup plan.
right, it seems like guns are the thing that you collect, and you collect the ammo, but you don't start using until you've built up 4 walls and a perimeter of barbed wire and all that fun stuff.
Right.
Or a hedge maze. I wonder if we'll be able to make a hedge maze that's probably pretty effective against zombies, actually. Because
I would say it probably.
I don't, even if they're coordinated enough to climb on solid surfaces, they're probably gonna kind of fail on the bushy walls. So, and then if everything goes south, you just light it up and get the hell out of there.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, there'll definitely H1Z1 Jane. There'll definitely be explosives we'll be able to craft. So, what we'll actually be able to craft, whether they're crude explosives or very advanced ones, I don't know. I doubt we're making like, a modern frag grenade. We might be making like something more of a, I don't know, like an improvised potato masher. Just, something simple shape, simple parts. Something that hopefully
Yeah. You
will.
make pipe.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of stuff like that. Your uncle makes his own ammo in real life. It's easier to get the stuff now. There might be facilities at some point way later on to be able to manufacture your own ammo, but they'd probably be very specific and highly contested. So, I'm not going to say that the answer is no on that, but it's definitely a something that they specifically said. Initially, there's not going to be any crafting of firearm rounds. That's fine. Potato guns, I could see that. Just junk launcher.
super soaker and lighter fluid.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I would imagine the super soaker would eventually start getting kind of hot, and it is just plastic.
A couple shots out of it would be fine.
I think it'd be more spraying the area and then lighting it, or finding something that's already on fire and just kind of spraying to add a little bit more to it. So we were going to talk a little bit about storage and inventory space, starting the game and like early crafting. So you can make that satchel, which I think adds 4 slots or something like that, but that's a very meager amount compared to a 12, a 16, or a 20 slot backpack, which are kind of the more ideal items for finding for storage, especially early game.
Yeah, I think that I like how little space that you actually have, because if you are really facing the zombie apocalypse, if you are really trying to survive, even if you have a backpack, you're not going to be able to carry a lot. I mean, we're picking up salt, wood, metal. That stuff's going to take up a lot of your space. So even with the 20 slots, I'd say it's necessary because uh, people are going to complain, and it's just not going to work for everybody if you have such little spots. But even the 20 slots, I think, is a lot.
20 is a lot, but then considering, how much you have to deal with, like, you can't have a box of materials and craft out of it. Actually, that would be a great suggestion. I'll write that down for later. Craft from box of supplies. Because that's actually, there's a game, Korea, it's a 2D sandbox that everyone says, man, this is like Terraria with level ups. Which, on the glance it kind of is, but the feature of it that I really like is that you can actually craft at a crafting table from boxes that are nearby that you've got your items stored in. And you can actually even craft from your friends and your allies if they're nearby. You can also be using items in their inventory. I think that's a permission feature that just hasn't been implemented, but it's a pretty cool way to allow somebody to extend their inventory when they're crafting, rather than having to put something in their pants, on their shirt pocket, or their fanny pack, or their satchel, or whatever, before they can actually proceed to craft something or do the research or whatever they need to do with it. They already talked about ground mounds, that you'd be able to dig up a little hole in the ground and use that for stuff. So even just being able to use the place that you're standing to put things down, craft things, and pick it all up with a keystroke would be really nice.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, the satchel that you're saying, I saw a bunch of the dead players' bounty bags or loot bags on the streets.
Yeah.
So they were going around picking them up, and it looked like everybody just died at once in one spot. And they're going around picking up these satchels. I guess that's the loot that everybody had from their last spawn, their last death.
Yeah.
How long? They say how long those are going to perpetuate in the world yet?
The little loot bags.
Yeah, they're going to stay there until someone finds them and make use of them, or are they only going to be there for like 30 minutes or so?
I think it's a matter of what kills the player. If they're killed by wildlife or another player, it's going to leave the little sack of loot on the ground. If they're killed by a zombie, I'm pretty sure that's what causes the mechanic where they will have their loot distributed to the zombies in the area. So I think a lot of those people might have just been getting eaten by bears or something. Bears and
Or
wolves.
other players.
Or other players.
Or other players that
Yeah,
don't pick.
thinking other survivors. All right, cool.
So we got a question here. Why don't they use more of the PlanetSide 2 engine to make the game movement and combat more fluid from the beginning? I mean, it is the PlanetSide 2 engine. It is that Forge Light engine. It's just a slightly modified version. They're still working on the animations for the run cycles and the movement and all of that. They're still working on it. So yeah, don't even worry about it. It's all still a work in progress. The animations are definitely very stiff. They were called out on that during one of the live streams and said, yeah, our mocap guy is working on it.
Yeah, this is
I
even
did
an
see a
early
picture. I did see a picture of one of the old SOE animators walking around with the lead developer for H1Z1 at PAX, and I'm thinking, is he coming back to do some animations? It'd be nice if he did. I don't know if you guys know Floyd from previous games Sony's done, but he did Free Realms animations and all that stuff. And it'd be nice if he jumped back on the team to help him with some really kick-ass animations. It'd be real nice.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that definitely seems like the sort of thing that happens with SOEs, that they are, totally willing to have people from their previous projects come back and, even seek them out. So, yeah, that would be pretty cool. Especially, I mean, now that Free Realms has gone under, I don't know, if his term on the project was before or after it was scheduled for termination or whatever. But no, that's really cool. So I'm trying to find my notes on storage here. There are a couple various random things that I came across during the stream that I thought were pretty funny. So the deer kept getting stuck in the doorways. That was a pathing issue. Those bears were getting stuck on the curbs. They're just kind of wandering. Pathing was getting a little bit weird, but they were saying, yeah, as soon as you attack something, it stops using that kind of weird broken pathing, and it starts really going to deal with you. So
Yeah.
the more passive stuff they might need to rework a little bit or just haven't worked through fully. But when the thing is actually actively engaged in you, it seems like whether they're retreating or moving to get after you, there's a lot more intent and purpose going on. Thus, they're able to navigate things a lot better. And I would imagine that is where a lot more of the focus is. It doesn't matter where a bear walks around to. It matters where they go when you try to shoot them with an arrow.
Right, and I remember at SOE Live walking up to a bear. He was stuck on a bridge, and just like walking into the corner of the bridge. And I thought it was going to be an easy kill. It was cool because I was going to kill a bear because I've been mauled by a couple already. And walk up and I hit it once, and it turns around and kills me. One shot.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, all right, well, don't do that again.
There were a lot of bears in the PAX build, too.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of wolves at the live demo. They ran into more wolves. I didn't see many bears.
How bad were the wolves at SOE Live? Because I don't remember running into any myself, but they seem like they do a hell of a lot of damage in that last build we saw.
Well, where there's
didn't
one
think
wolf,
that
there was usually more. So
Gotcha.
It was like 2 or 3 at a time. So by the time you done killing one, another one showed up. And especially if there were deer in the area, it's like it almost got their whole pack there. So
I found with the wolves, if I came across 2 when they were attacking me, I could usually kill them. I'd be pretty beat up by the end, but I could kill them. If I came across 3, I would die.
Gotcha. There was one point where they took down a wolf on a staircase, and it kind of tumbled down a couple of steps with the weird squishy ragdoll physics. So there's been some funny ragdoll stuff in the game.
I saw them killing a pack of wolves on the side of a hill, and the one would just start slowly sliding down the hill and then start tumbling, which was pretty cool. I mean, that's pretty realistic, but the ragdoll still needs a little bit of tweaking. So, but it was fun.
I killed some zombies on a hill, and the same thing happened. It was on the very top of the hill. I killed them. They slid all the way down the hill, which was it was cool to see, but I also didn't know where the loot bag was, if there was one. Was it going to be down by their corpse or where I killed them? So it was a little bit interesting to see that, for sure.
Yeah, no, and it's I like the mechanic with looting animals in at least the versions I've tried, where you just hack at it with the hatchet or whatever, and you get parts. So that's a nice feature. So they did a little bit of farming. They actually managed to till the land, deposit some seeds and some fertilizer, and the I guess Facebook game style growth rates that things just grow really quickly. But then again, the game's got an accelerated day-night cycle or whatever. There aren't like 4 days per real world day on Earth. It's everything's taken with a little bit, a grain of salt or whatever. The things are also accelerated because it is just the a demo, right? It's the early access isn't even here yet, so it really has not been balanced whatsoever. They're just doing everything to make sure the systems work. But there is farming.
Yeah, and I don't know if...
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Daddio.
All right, I was saying, I see someone asking if you guys got the chance to drive at SOE Live or at PAX if you were there. I didn't. I couldn't find a vehicle that worked. I don't know if any of you guys did.
Cheats were turned off at SOE Live, so I couldn't have them spawn one for me.
They weren't.
There you go. So that answers that. No wonder I didn't find one.
I think I tried one at E3, and it felt pretty close to like the Harasser from PlanetSide 2 with just a little bit better handling.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but yeah, they definitely are working on the vehicle stuff. Actually, the next vehicle, it sounds like, is going to be the bicycle, which is kind of funny because it's probably going to have a little horn or a little something you can ring or whatever. So using it as a lure just as much as a way to escape, or something you do as the harbinger of destruction. Yes, you'll see a lone bicyclist wearing a pink shirt, and then all hell will come.
Yeah, that might be interesting because that's going to be a way to get around without causing too much havoc with the zombies in the area. So that'll be nice.
Yeah, and it's nice that
I
they're.
think that's going to be one of the most viable modes of transportation. If you can get a bicycle, keep it. I mean, because you're not going to run out of gas. You know, it's humid powered, so unless you get a flat tire or a broken rim or something, then it's trashed. But I'd rather have a bike than a Jeep that's going to run out of fuel.
Yeah, that
even
makes
though the
sense.
Jeep offers you a little more protection, I can't run over a zombie on a bicycle. So,
Right.
but I can
right.
run away pretty damn quick from one.
I think that whatever is quieter, whether it's vehicles, weapons, is going to be better in a lot of cases. I mean, there's going to be certain cases where having a Jeep is going to be better, or having a gun is going to be better, just depending. But for the most part, I think whatever's quieter is better. The bow, I loved the bow. That's the first thing I did when I got in game. I built a bow, and you could take down zombies just as easily, I would assume, with a bow as with a gun. So
Yeah, actually, they've constantly said the bow is the great equalizer, and honestly, taking the hatchet away from starting players probably makes things better. So you actually need a minimum of one hatchet before you and your buddies can get yourselves armed with the bow. But then from that point on, if you just spend the next 20 minutes making bows for everyone, making a whole bunch of arrows, you've immediately got yourself a formidable ranged combat team. So,
Oh, yeah.
you know, that's going to be really nice, and especially once again, they're silent and they do a fair amount of damage. So, even if you miss with it, that's fine. Try to recover the arrows later, but mostly you're not going to have to worry that you're summoning the horde if you've got 4 or 5 people on a ridge firing down.
right, and an arrow will kill a zombie in one shot if you get a headshot,
Headshot currently. Yeah.
and 2 shots otherwise.
Yeah.
Currently.
So some other stuff. Fertilizer was really, really common. There was a lot of fertilizer around in that build. Just
Yeah.
everywhere. Just like ridiculous amounts of it. It was on kitchen tables. It was on people's nightstands. It was on TV stands and stuff like that. That fertilizer, I think I saw some in a bathroom. Fertilizer was everywhere. Place must have smelled horrible. I wonder
Yeah,
if
no
it
kidding.
attracts more smell, or if having fertilizer around would actually reduce the ability for zombies to smell you. Because I'm not sure if anything organic is something they detect, or if it's specifically certain things that are coming off of living creatures.
That's a good question, and with that also, if it does attract zombies, you could use that to attract them maybe to a barn or something where you're just going and picking them off. Like, attract them somewhere that you will know where they are, so then you can just go take care of them.
Manure lure.
And if you can on the run.
The proverbial lemmings into the pit, type of
Exactly.
Right.
thing.
So we already talked about the fact that combos are extremely important, so I can cross that one off.
And then again, the fertilizer is probably going to be another key component if you want to make explosives.
Yeah,
So-
for some types for sure. You never know where and when you can use some fertilizer. A troll friend by putting a bunch in their house. Yeah, when I was in middle school, there's some kids that I went to school with that stole someone's credit card and had a ton of it dropped on the person's front yard. Yeah, they got criminal charges for that. Great gag though. They talked about the fact that there is actually not craftable beer and craftable alcohol. So you can make fuel, but you can't make the thing that people, normally use fermented products for. So that's kind of interesting. It sounds like
I
they
wonder if
want to
they're
be able
not
to.
currently, or they just won't be.
Well, alcohol consumption is definitely something that SOE has in, it goes back to 1999 with EverQuest. So the idea that this would be a game they wouldn't have it doesn't make sense. The fact that you can't get drunk in PlanetSide 2, it only makes sense because it's a constant battle, and you don't want to be sending people out drunk. That would be hilarious.
Right.
But yeah, I could definitely see alcohol consumption, and the effects of it being something that ties into the game for sure.
Well, definitely. If we're going to be making our own still to create fuel, we're going to be brewing up some of our own moonshine to drink along with it.
Yeah, for sure. Zenticus, zombies are not only aren't there not all the varieties of zombies in yet, so even if these ones are weaker, that's fine. There's going to be tougher ones coming. But yeah, the statement about the game not being in balance whatsoever because it's still in an early demo state, that's pretty much the condition of things. Guitar, well, for one thing, believe it or not, alcohol is like the most readily usable calories, so it would actually potentially be able to help you get your stamina up fairly quickly. Other than that, beer is a potable form of water. If you make a really mild beer, you're not actually going to be dehydrating yourself as much as you're actually rehydrating yourself. Meanwhile, the alcohol and the hops are able to stave off bacteria and fungus and all sorts of other stuff, so it'll be able to keep for even longer than if you just boiled some water and had it hanging around. It'll also have more nutrition. So a very mild beer, I'm talking like 0.5% alcohol, would actually be a very functional thing to have. But I think it's more the idea that you surround somebody, point guns at them, make them drink a 6-pack, and then have them go stumbling out in the wild trying to kill a deer with a spear while y'all have guns trained on him, and just get some laughs out of it. It's just as much a role-playing thing as it is an actual, min-max or functional item sort of thing. Using it to make Molotovs. Were you about to say that?
They could also make the beer just to give you like a bravery buff.
Yeah, something that once again, stamina management sort of thing, that you think you've got more energy than you do, and maybe you do, or reads higher, but then after a while it just starts dropping down really quickly when the fact that you're running low on energy is catching up with your alcohol-induced state.
Yeah, definitely.
So like ancient Egyptian beer, not Everclear. Well, just as much Everclear. Like I said, Molotov cocktails. It would make sense. Handcuff people and force feed them SpaghettiOs and tequila. You can do that, Cody. I will help you find SpaghettiOs, my friend. Yeah.
I guess they do have cans of beans, so you could just do it with cans of beans.
Beans? No, it's cans of beets, I thought.
Oh,
when they did their
beans
farming,
too.
It's good
did
too.
they stick around to show you how long it took for the plants to actually grow? Or no?
It started going like within minutes. So it's like I said, it's the rates of a Facebook game. It's super accelerated right now just to demonstrate the system that it works, and they can fine tune it later.
Cool.
Which is fine.
And did you know the crop that they planted? What was it?
Corn.
Beans, corn. No.
Corn, I know corn and wheat are two seeds they've definitely talked about. I think beans might also be in the mix, but they'll probably add some more stuff later on. I doubt that we're going to have seeds for trees, but then again, we also haven't seen any fruit-bearing trees in the game, just the blueberry bushes or blackberries or whatever.
I think seeds for trees would make a lot of sense for like when you are building your own compound. If you want to layer it with trees on the outside, you should have to grow them, because you're not going to plant a 100-foot tree.
Yeah.
Realistic.
I mean, if that was the case, I'd also want to be able to put nails in trees, or other things to make it harder to chop them down, or if chainsaws are added and someone tries to get after a big old tree with a chainsaw, and you've got the nails in it, there's a chance it'll just bounce off and potentially hit them, or just they'll lose their grip and it'll potentially damage the chain and all sorts of fun stuff. So yeah, defensive trees would definitely be a nice thing, but got to be able to have it so people can't just chop them down as easily as trees out in the wilderness, or otherwise you're gonna have some trouble.
Right. Definitely.
So I've got one note here that I've got only two things left that I haven't crossed out. Greg Henniger hates corn nuts. It's hilarious to me, but next time I see him, I have to have a bag of them, and I have to offer them. I think it's sometimes a snack when they have the events at SOE, so next time they have one of those, I'm going to have to find some corn and say, hey, Greg, here. How you doing? Let's talk about corn nuts and H1Z1. And then the last thing on the list here, early access. It seems like Steam integration is going to be the way things work. There's probably still going to be the standard SOE Launchpad system, but it doesn't sound like there's going to be a standalone launcher that's going to all be done through Steam. Your friends list comes from Steam. Updates are probably going to be distributed through Steam. And I see a lot of advantage to that, especially because Steam is where all of the current zombie survival, horror survival players already play. So,
Right.
It's offering it to that demographic who, they might already have money in their account from, previous other things in their actual Steam account. Or if somebody really, really, really wants to, they can play free Steam games, sell the cards that they collect from those games, and then, slowly but surely build up that $20. Anybody could do that. Especially,
Yeah, it's definitely Steam's the way to go. I mean, you got all the kids are playing on Steam. My son plays on Steam. His friend plays on Steam. It's easy access for the game for $20 instead of driving down to a GameStop or going out to a Best Buy to actually pick up the game, or even a digital download. Sometimes it can be a hassle other places, but Steam instant access, bam, you got it. So
Definitely.
I'm hoping that they do the same. I know they're porting stuff over to the PS4, and I would like to see this game on the PS4.
which it will be.
Shortly after
Yeah.
it's released for the PC, because then I can sit in my living room, lights off, on the big screen TV, and really get into it, and instead of on the computer monitor, playing on your big screen TV with the surround sound, that's going to be an experience for me. So
Definitely.
Yeah, that is going to be a lot of fun. By the way, everybody, I don't know why Kremchek's camera keeps on flickering like that. If you've seen that here and there, it's a new camera. It hasn't fully been beta tested, so let's just hope it's the act of Skype being weird, because Skype is often weird. Also, I wanted to say last week, yes, it was most definitely Twitch being either DDoS attacked or having some other problem, because the stream broke up and we actually got the show in like 4 parts instead of one straight through stream. So yeah, definitely there was some issues last week, but it's all good. And I think the episode before, or actually 2 episodes before, it just got eaten by old VOD, new VOD switchover stuff. So, whatever. Tech problems being tech problems, everything's fine with that. Honestly, it's now that, and also I should mention, if it wasn't a factor last week, Twitch was actually bought by Amazon. So hopefully a lot of these issues, chat not working sometimes, not being able to keep things connected and smooth, will not be an issue anymore. So I'm looking forward to that. Sorry, folks. Hold on just a sec.
Mm-hmm.
My apologies, everybody. Y'all could have been talking that time. Oh well. I should have been prompting you guys with something.
Well, Zenticus was talking about Steam need a new UI. I agree. It looks like it's the way it was 10 years ago, but it's familiar to everybody. It's easy to navigate because everybody's familiar with the way it looks. I think the PlayStation Store on the PS4 just went through an upgrade, and I can't find a freaking thing on it anymore. I used to know where to go, looking for a game, bam, bam, bam. Now there's all these new menus I have to go through to find a movie on the PS4. So having familiarity with Steam and their current layout is what's pretty much. I don't like Steam, but it's keeping me there and easy for me to shop games on Steam.
Gotcha.
And I know once H1Z1 hits it, it's probably going to be the top-selling game, I'm going to say, ever in the zombie genre. I think it's going to outshine any other game similar to it. So I think they're just going to skyrocket sales on it. And if Steam does any type of sales with the game, it's going to be even better. Because Sony makes their money by selling them the codes for the games at a set price. What Steam does with it afterwards, that's Steam's deal. Just like they did with Landmark, selling stuff for 66% off for a $100 package. You can buy it for $40-something.
Yeah.
So Steam is great for the sales, great for saving you money. And hopefully, a week or two, if you don't buy it the first week or two, maybe they'll give you a sale of 10% or 16% off. You never know.
Maybe. I don't know how long it would be before they actually offer a discount, but they can take their time on it. I'm sure the $20 early access is going to... They might even sell 1 million copies within a week. No joke.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
I'm
that's
thinking,
huge.
the first day they're probably going to sell at least 250 or 300,000. First day.
I hope they do. Yeah.
Because on the very first H1Z1 broadcast, I think how many people watched it? Well, I saw the numbers on the thing, and I couldn't believe it. It was like 36,000 people on their first stream watching H1Z1. And it was like, oh my God, there's this many people interested in this game. The hype is real.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah, definitely.
we talked about on previous episodes that pretty much every other zombie survival game is either stalled out in development, it's a bug fest, or it's got a long way to go, or it's something that it fits the role, but it just doesn't have the mass appeal, like Unturned, for example. It's a great game, but I know a lot of people will see it and be like, man, this looks like Legos, and just not play it, even though it's... there's so much more to it than that, and it's actually got a lot of depth. It's a game, I would say, that it sacrifices beautiful, detailed graphics and shaders and all of that stuff to have the functionality be really solid and really meaningful.
Just for the gameplay. Yeah, the gameplay is there regardless of the graphics. Like you say, Gumby figures, Minecraft, Lego guys, whatever. Fine, but the gameplay is there. So I know my younger son's addicted to it, and he wants me to play it more and more with him, but I don't know, I just can't get over to me, the graphics make the game. The gameplay could be there, but I like the pretty graphics.
I gotcha.
I like a little bit of both. If the gameplay is really good, I think that they can sacrifice some graphics. I don't love the blocky style graphics or anything like that, but if it looks beautiful, it plays bad, it's bad. If it looks bad and plays good, it's good. Somewhere right in the middle can be great for me.
Gotcha. I see. For me, it's if the graphics, if the aesthetic is consistent, that's probably almost more important to me than anything else. Like the graphics for 3089, they aren't like super amazing or anything, but it's a very consistent aesthetic. There's nothing that I see that makes it look like, not believable in the world, or not something that fits in the world. So to that extent, that's one of the biggest things for me, is just so that things actually feel like they have a place and a context to one another, rather than just a pile of internet memes strung together into some sort of a flash game, because those are terrible. I hate those. Anyway, they've said that there's possibly going to be a crafting stream in the near future, and I think that would be great.
Yeah.
I was pretty impressed with the crafting that I saw it live. Just discovering the recipes, taking the bits and pieces, putting them together, see what you can make and what you can't make, what can go with what. I mean, making a sphere with the sticks and metal bits. I mean, that was pretty cool. And then just trying to find some of the weirder combinations. I think we were almost building a platform so we could start putting some sheds and stuff up on the platform to stay safe before I got killed the one time, and it's like, damn.
Yeah, I'm usually not a crafting guy, but I actually had a lot of fun with the discovery and all the crafting that went into H1Z1, because it's such a core part of the gameplay, is that you kind of have to get into it to be able to enjoy it fully. And they do a really good job at letting you do that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot that's going to be going to the crafting system, and I think a lot of it's going to be even more complex later on when it's two items and a facility potentially that you need, the
Right.
metal bits and being near a furnace to actually discover the thing, or having the wood and being at a woodworking table to be able to make certain types of specialized products. But definitely
Right.
being able to make that stuff, and not something that's so complex and diverse that it's completely unknowable and unlearnable to all players, but just having so much complexity and so many different ways to get to the finished product that players can really sit and experiment for a while, and if they're having a hard time with the stuff they have figuring out the next thing they need to do, they can simply put some items in discovery, stand next to a couple of crafting stations, and see if they can find some new stuff that they hadn't been able to work with before. Kibbs, right now
Yeah.
the crafting mechanic, you put items into the 4 slot discovery window, and you try to discover recipes. It doesn't consume items at all, which is a really nice feature. So pretty cool.
And it's pretty in depth too. I didn't expect for it to be there to be so many recipes that you could learn right off the bat.
And I think adding new recipes is something they're planning to do like weekly, if not monthly. Probably monthly later down the road, but weekly early on, especially during early access, because that's going to be one of the big things to keep adding more diversity to the game, as well as allowing them to figure out early on, what recipe combinations are worthwhile, what's going to be overpowered, what's going to be something that wastes too many materials to get to something that that otherwise more easily be able to find in the world. However that's going to
Right.
work. There's definitely going to be a lot of work going into that, though.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, and they've said, speaking of, someone mentioned about the PlanetSide 2 servers or whatever, PlanetSide 2 engine, the game will actually be able to support 2,000 players per server, which right now, PlanetSide 2, it's 2,000 players per continent is what the game started with. They might have pulled it back a little since then for optimization, but this is 2,000 players, not at a bunch of concentrated battlefronts, plus a giant pool of AI entities in the world and a sprawling loot system. So it's going to be I'm pretty sure it's going to be a lot more optimized when we hit early access, and they've even said it's going to be pretty optimized. But having 2,000 people in a server, they said they don't expect to be the everyday sort of thing. They expect people to spread out and kind of disperse among a bunch of different servers. And if you've got 2,000 people on one server, it's probably because some big time streamers on there and all of their followers are there, just trying to stream snipe them or help build a good castle or whatever they're trying to do.
Yeah, I think 2000 it's going to be able to hold that, but I don't think there's ever going to be that unless, like what you said, if there's some reason. But I think that would be too many people, just because I came across a lot of the same areas, and so when you hop in the game, there's a possibility that you're going to be staying in the same area if you don't make it a point just to kind of venture out. So if a lot of people are doing that, that's going to have a lot of people in one area. Everyone's going to be dying just over and over. It's not going to be very much fun. So I think limiting that is going to be better on their part.
I wonder if they change their game plan, because I know they said these on the maps. It's what, 64 square kilometers, and you're going to be starting off in the lower southeast corner.
They said the southern and eastern edges, but I think they might have changed their tune a little since then. I think it's actually going to be somewhere kind of near, but not next to one of your friends or buddies that's already playing, and if not, then
Right.
it'll probably try to find a location. It's probably still like the southern and eastern edges of the initial starting area will probably be a little bit of the easier areas initially and for a little while. But as they continue to expand the size of the map, the areas that less safe areas compared to safer areas will probably continue. Then again, it also seems like anywhere where there's wilderness and not a lot of bears and wolves around is a pretty safe area. So,
Hmm.
yeah. It'll be interesting to see how that all works out.
Yeah.
Well, as they're saying in chat how the bigger clans will have their groups going on each server. I'm thinking a smaller group might work better than a big group because when I was talking to them at SOE Live, they were saying you got 50, 25, 30 people walking around with you making a lot of noise. Guess what?
That's a heat
You're going to
factory.
attract that much more zombies. You know, you're
Yeah.
scavenging, you're making noise, you're a mob. So what you're going to attract is another mob, but there can be zombies. You're going to attract more animals to you. So you might not want to be in a big group. Maybe a group of 5 or 6, but anything bigger than that, I got a feeling it's going to be a risk for a while.
Yeah, they definitely said the smaller covert teams are getting more advantage in sneaking around. You're still going to have a lot of the stealth factor that a solo player is going to have, but a lot more eyes, a lot more cover on one another, a lot more chances to hit if you've got something that you all need to take down with the bow really quickly. And you've definitely, when you have more people, you can take down bigger targets. They've said a bear is a pretty big source of loot because of all the meat and fur and fat and bone you're going to be able to get from it, potentially sinew and other stuff as well. So taking down a bear with bows and not losing anybody in the process, that's a pretty big deal. And people who are able to do that as an effective group, they're definitely going to be able to do a lot with that relative to a group of 50 people. Yeah, they can go out and maybe take down 4, 5, 6 bears if they come across them, but along the way they're also going to have to be fighting off all of the zombies and the wolves and the ravens and everything else that comes to get a piece of them and get a piece of the
Right.
stuff that they've killed.
Yep.
Yeah, and if it hasn't changed, while I was talking to an H1Z1 dev at SOE Live, they said that we're not going to really have guilds or indication that this person, this person. So until you get really close to somebody, you're really not going to know who they are anyway. So if you're traveling around with a group of 50 people, another 10 people can come in and start wiping you guys out. So it's going to be a lot easier to manage who you're with, also if you're with a smaller group.
I mean, there'll be ways that you can do like middle finger, crouch, wave, crouch, or something like that as your secret signal.
Right.
Something like that. I'm sure people will develop sorts of stuff like that to
Yeah.
Communicate at long ranges when they can't effectively speak or shout to each other, and they can't tell for sure if it's somebody that they know on the other end.
Right.
Well, I think using TeamSpeak and Ventrilo and RaidCall and all these other voice programs are going to be a necessity in the game. Just so you're not making the noise in the game, because they will be putting in a voice in-game system. But as I said, if you're yelling at someone or whispering to someone, you don't want to make noise. And when you're talking to someone, you're going to make a certain level of noise. So the closer you are, the safer you are.
For me, I don't
With
even know
the-
if I want to do TeamSpeak or anything like that, because to me, it's just going to take away a core part of the game, which is having to really watch what you're saying and how many zombies are around when you're talking and things like that. If you're turning off their system there and just using TeamSpeak, it takes away a large part of the game to me.
It does, and that's kind of one of the things when you come across players who you're not on voice comms with, that's going to force you to use in-game comms or otherwise risk being attacked by somebody because they're talking to you and you're not talking back.
Right.
So there's definitely reasons for still using the voice comms in game, but you're right that definitely a lot of people are going to want to use, like for me, when I play PlanetSide 2, I have the in-game voice on my my external speakers, same with the actual gameplay sound, and I'm only hearing TeamSpeak through the headset, so that way I can separate these voices from those voices and the rest of the audio distraction going on. Plus, it makes it feel like more badass and stuff because there's all the sound going around. You got the voices in the headset, so I always prefer playing it that way, and I'm pretty sure I would do the exact same thing in H1Z1, having my buddies on voice comms and push to talk, and then using a different push to talk to speak to people directly in the game, and having the audio separation of the headset and the speakers to make sure that I don't have any confusion there whatsoever.
Right.
Kibbs, what do you mean ghosting? There is no ghosting. These are SOE's servers. The only way you would be able to get around in some sort of observer camera mode would be if they specifically give you the permission for it, and you've got to really be in their good graces to be able to do something like that, because they don't give that privilege to really anybody, except for very few videographers and people who are given special permission. Deep bot, why are you talking about Landmark? Silly bot. Okay, let me turn that off. Everyone in chat, if you're wondering what that was about, or if you're interested in Landmark, you can buy a Founders Pack using that code.
There you go. Ooh, there it is.
Alright, so continuing along here. Clegg said something. Oh, I should say, by the way, for anybody who hasn't tuned in before, isn't sure what the heck is going on, but is too entertained to leave, this is H1Z1 Dead Future, and I am the host coming here every week bringing you this lovely show, Legendary Neurotoxin. On my screen left is Daddio, who is an awesome streamer in the community. Definitely follow him. Like me, he also has awesome shiny stickers, so if you ever see him in person, demand shiny stickers. Yeah, so you got it on your hat there, nice. And over on my screen right is Kremchek, who is another person from the community here. Going to be streaming here pretty soon, hopefully, but you'll see him around in various different places, Landmark being one of them. So, and you see him on my channel here for various different shows. So, yeah. So this is a talk show for H1Z1. Obviously, we are fans. We are not developers on the game, but we've all played the game. We all played it at SOE Live, and I've played it at plenty of other places before that. E3, the block party thing that they had just before SOE Live, and then the 12-hour live stream event they had back in, I think, February, where they first really announced H1Z1. So I've played a lot of different versions of it. We've all gotten a chance to play it, so we're not a bunch of slubs who, are just completely coming from zero experience. We've definitely played it, and also have some experience with survival games and horror games and all of that sort of stuff. So, again, not greenhorns coming into the genre here. So enough about us. Let's talk about this funny thing that Clegg said. And I don't know how much he was thinking this through, because like they had said earlier on, it was 10 a.m. and they were at a weird party the night before. So that being a complaint for not being able to think straight is quite peculiar, but I'll let them keep their stories to themselves instead of... Yeah, anyway. So Clegg said, we should be able to earn tree climbing as something that you can do in the game. Now, that's weird to me, the idea that you can earn the ability to do a specific action, because then that's starting to create situations where if your character gets killed, then you actually lose something. Right now, you just lose your equipment, but it would seem like, either you would lose tree climbing when your character dies, or otherwise you keep tree climbing and you've got an advantage on other players. Either way, it doesn't really make sense. You start the game as James Bond MacGyver, the most skillful crafter and most capable person in all the world. Everybody does. So the idea that they can't just climb a tree or climb a telephone pole from the get-go, and that it would be something you actually have to unlock, seems really, really weird. It doesn't make sense that there would be any equipment that you would need to craft for yourself to be able to climb a tree. It's a tree. You're a really fit person. Just climb it. I've seen people climb trees before. It's not that hard. If I had the upper and lower body strength for it, I'd go climb a tree right now.
If I could reach the branches and pull myself up, yeah, I'd try it too.
I don't know. I don't think they're gonna uh, have to unlock the ability to climb a tree. I think that's what. How could you unlock something like that? How could you? Or what would you need to climb just a regular tree?
Yeah, that's exactly. That's kind of the point I'm making. It doesn't really.
Yeah.
It's not a congruent sort of thing to the entire rest of the game that you would have, one specific thing that you have to do. I don't know what to trees, smoking trees. Yeah, I don't know. He might have been. Like I said, they were at that weird party the night before, so he might not have been might not have been thinking things through too well there. But no, seriously
It's
though,
local in Seattle.
like I don't know what it would take to be able to learn how to climb a tree and why it would be something players would be limited from. Daddio, what are your thoughts on the subject?
I think if wolves were running after me and I couldn't take out a pack of 3 or 4 wolves, I'd be trying to climb up that tree pretty damn fast.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what he's saying. That's what you need to learn to climb up the tree. Bunch of wolves on your ass. But
Something chasing you, yeah.
other than that, I mean, I don't see a reason to, unless you're looking for a place that's safe to spend the night where a zombie can't climb up and get you. But they're still going to be down there in the morning. So
Potentially, unless a wolf runs by or something and catches their attention.
And now here's another question: will the wolves eat a zombie? They're flesh, but they're dead flesh, right?
I think they will. Now, that was a question I've asked in the past, and I don't know, can they actually digest that flesh, or does it just pass right through them?
Don't know. Don't know.
I don't know. There's
I know zombies eat wolves,
yeah.
or they could eat wolves, but I don't know if it'd be the other way around.
See, that's the thing. I don't know, like, how much of a carrion scavenger wolves are. If they'll eat something that's been dead for a few days, like, I'm pretty sure a raccoon, that's totally their game. But I don't know if bears and wolves are into that sort of thing, to be honest.
So in a
wouldn't think
zombie
so.
apocalypse, surround yourself with raccoons. There
I
you
guess
go.
so. Well, then you still have to deal with a bunch of raccoons. So there was a question up here. Let me scroll up to it. How does the aiming feel? Is it similar to PlanetSide 2? Honestly, most of the people were playing in third person. I was playing mostly in third person myself. I think the only time I went to first person was the bow. And the aiming felt fine. It didn't really have any like sway or anything to it that I can remember, or if there was, it was pretty minimal. There's drop on everything, and the drop is going to be a lot more pronounced than you would see in pretty much any other game, especially with the bow. I mean, it's the best bow you can craft with a hatchet and a piece of a shirt and some chunk of wood that you just cut down. So, yeah, it's definitely, I would say it's kind of similar because it is the same engine, it is the same people working with it. I'm pretty sure Jimmy Wisenhunt is the one who does a lot of the fine-tuning of that sort of stuff, and I'm sure he's using the exact same tools and rules that he was with PlanetSide 2. So a lot of that's probably going to be similar, but a lot of people I saw using third person as well, so to that extent might be a little bit of a different story.
Mm-hmm.
I would say in terms of the crossbow and PS2, the explosive bolt is about the arc and drop. I would say the arrows have in Planet or in H1Z1 maybe a little straighter before the drop off at the end. It doesn't just like fall off a cliff at the end of the arc. Maggot slingshot. That'd be kind of freaky, D-man. Just a slingshot that you're flinging chunks of zombie flesh with, or would you be using that as a lure for animals? All right. So I think we've discussed through the subject of climbing trees and Cled smoking trees at that weird party or whatever. So zombie grappling is a work in progress. Apparently it's something that they're working on, but right now they just kind of do this derpy thing, and it seems like maybe they do it on corpses instead of living things or something. I don't know. That's something that's being worked on. Did you guys hear anything else about that, or was it just the one little mention?
Nothing else.
Yeah, I think that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
All right. By the way, folks, I take a lot of notes when I watch streams from SOE. I started the show with 5 post-it notes full of notes. We're down to 3. We're down to 3, everybody. So, still the hilarious thing where you take a water bottle, like this one I have right here in my hand that I'm covering the label because you don't really need to see what brand it's from. And you put it in a campfire, and then you come back after 30 seconds, and it's purified. And you have clean water where you used to have dirty water in a plastic water bottle. Now I know if I have an empty water bottle versus a plastic water bottle and I put both of them over a candle, the empty one's going to start burning sooner, but I'm pretty sure the one with water in it's going to start melting a hole and start draining out too. And I would imagine like the plastic that kind of gets boiled off into the water, should it actually be able to survive something that ridiculous, probably wouldn't be none too healthy for you neither. So
I think they could enhance that just by adding like a little tin can or something like that. So they have tin cans full of beets. Eat the beets, use the tin can for the water, something like that.
yeah,
Because otherwise it just doesn't work. It's just weird.
it is weird. And I think they joke about it every time it happens on the live streams because they realize how weird and hilarious it is too. But yeah, that definitely seems like they're going to have to get like a tin can or some sort of a metal pot as a part of it, or otherwise it's just going to be that one weird thing in the game. Well, 2 weird
Right.
things. The other thing is forest camo that's still spelled like Forrest Gump rather than like an actual forest.
Right.
So, Daddio, what are your thoughts on the water purification in the plastic bottle?
I've seen it done in the plastic bottle. I mean, I've watched Bear Grylls do it on his survival show. I've watched the other 2 guys, the one barefoot dude and the other guy. I've seen them do it with purifying plastic bottle water. So it is doable. So it all depends on how far above the flame you have it. So it's just the heat to start boiling the water and not melting the plastic. So with a little practice, a little skill, I'm sure anybody could do it. But the first 2 tries are probably going to be unsuccessful. So have a couple spare bottles with you.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is maybe they need to add an extra part that you build so you can actually put the water bottles on top and get them to heat. Because right now the mechanic is you're literally just sticking the water bottle in the campfire and then you come back to it. So that's definitely, that doesn't work. It seems like it would be kind of a long process to be able to get a water bottle to heat over a campfire without melting the plastic, wouldn't it? Like, yeah, I know. Cody, yeah, you can do
Cody
that.
says it, and you can do that a hell of a lot easier, but do you want to?
I'd rather put that ammonia towards my corn crops. Because I'm pretty sure ammonia is part of what's it called, fertilizer sort of thing, or that's one of the components that goes into fertilizer. So
Uri is a fertilizer, isn't it?
yeah, probably. I mean, there's a lot of different stuff. Of course, someone was also telling me that you can use what was it, like some straw or hay or whatever. You just kind of leak all over that and let it get all nasty, and it actually kind of turns into like a very crude gunpowder material that you can use to make explosives. So, but I think that's a little bit more complex stuff. I think, having alcohol in an SOE game is probably going to come before having, pee is something you can work with in an SOE game. Just saying. I know survival being what it is, but
Yeah. Something that is saying here, biggest problem for me in H1Z1 is the gunplay going to be really bad compared to DayZ. I don't think that's going to be an issue because you're not going to really want to use guns that much in H1Z1. So I that's not going to be the the core of your gameplay.
The gunplay will be just fine.
I've seen the zombies in DayZ. Their pathing seems to be off. Some of them just stand there and run by you and turn around. And in the zombies that I've seen in H1Z1, they're going to kick your ass. They're not going to be like the ones in DayZ. And if you got a gun, you can use it to smack over their head in DayZ, instead of wasting bullets. But here you want to shoot them because you want to use as much range as you can because you don't want them getting close. They get close, you're dead. I mean, what is it? 3 or 4 hits from a zombie will kill you.
Yep.
So it's like, you don't have much of a health pool like in DayZ. So.
And like I said, guns make noise. Just like Zeneca says, guns make noise. Noise attracts zombies. So you kill that one zombie, but you're going to attract 5 more.
They make noise. They make a muzzle flash. They produce heat. They produce smell. Yeah, there's a lot of liability that comes from using a firearm unless you're specifically in a position to be able to, or you have a large enough group that, there's a bunch of stuff coming at us all the time anyway because there's 50 of us. There's no problem using a gun at that point because there's just going to be more stuff coming anyway.
Right.
Capus, you can use a gun to kill people, but that gunshot is going to attract every zombie within a certain perimeter because they're going to be attracted to the noise. They're going to be attracted to the heat signature.
Yeah.
And while you're busy looting that guy's sack, they're going to be coming up behind you.
Now, when we say heat, there's, of course, thermal heat, and there's some amount of detection of that, but it's more the idea of this kind of gradient of action that blips will be created as things happen. As you fire a gun, as you chop down a tree, as you bang on a car to get metal scraps from it. So heat isn't just this thermal sort of thing. Heat refers to this heat map of action that's going on in the world. So even if something doesn't have a line of sight where they can thermally or visually detect that a firearm has gone off there, they're still part of that kind of radius or gradient of interaction that's gone on. Yes, looting the guy's sack. That's correct. H1Z1 Jane. So anything that you do is going to potentially be causing heat. That's what we were talking about. Why firing a gun? It's such a loud thing. It's loud. It's bright. It even where the bullet hits is probably going to create heat as well because it's not going to be a quiet muffled noise necessarily, depending on what it hits and how far it travels before it hits, and what sound the thing makes after you've hit it if it screams in pain and starts running away. So
don't forget the people. You might see bigger groups in Cap is saying seeing bigger groups, but you're going to have friendly fire too. So if you have a bigger group all swinging at the zombie, you're going to be hitting each other as much as you are hitting that zombie.
Yeah.
Groups
against a zombie, close range, it's all about the push. I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. The whole schoolyard bully tactic, I think, is what it's going to be at. One person pushes, the person on the other side hacks it once, and then they push. It gets pushed back towards the person. They've already recovered from their push, so they just hack it again, push it again, and just back and forth between two people, and a zombie pretty much can't do much because they get stunned a little bit every time they get pushed.
Thank you, Arndell.
So that's kind of interesting. So yeah, purifying water in a campfire. I guess being able to do that in a legit way. How long does that actually take? Does that take like 5 minutes, or does that take an hour?
in real life.
Yeah.
I would think that it takes longer than an hour because you have to boil the water.
Yeah, you have to get the water boiling, and it has to be at least, 3 to 5 minutes before it's sterile?
Yeah, so that's a long process. That's not something where you just drop it in the fire and walk away and come back 30 seconds later. That definitely needs to be a longer process.
Even if it was a glass bottle, you put a glass bottle full of water into the fire, it's going to crack and shatter.
Yeah.
I'm thinking more like a metal canteen would be able to do it faster.
Yeah, a pot, a cup, a tin cup, even a soup can with the lid off.
Right.
Pour the water in there and put that in the fire.
Yeah. So, let's see. Continuing along here. Cloth plus stick plus fat equals torch. So you get some amount of animal fat, a stick from a tree, which hopefully we'll be able to harvest some way other than cutting down the entire tree, just being able to pull the branch off one way or another. And cloth, which, readily available from scrapping shirts and just finding cloth scraps. And you can make a torch. So it's, we start with the flashlight, and we'll eventually be able to get a torch going. By the way, for viewers over the pond, by torch I'm talking about a burning torch that produces fire, not torch being slang
Like
for a
grab the
flashlight.
pitchforks and torches. Grab the
Yes,
pitchfork and torches.
because I know
Let's go kill the
the
vampire.
the slang torch refers to a flashlight over there. So want to be absolutely clear so there's no confusion. Yeah, and that's Smedley's favorite tool, of course. And I feel like the idea that they took it out of the starting player's hands means they could make the torch more powerful than it was before. The one thing I don't know is if you also need a lighter or something to get the torch going, or if the torch will automatically light up. Because that was the thing before, it would just light up on its own, you just pull it out and it lights. Now you actually have to use a lighter or matches or something to get a campfire going, and I'm wondering if it's the same thing with the torch, if you need a campfire or some sort of source of fire to actually light it up. So you would otherwise, have a torch crafted but not really be able to do anything with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you guys think that should actually be a mechanic, that you'd have to have something to light the torch on fire and then potentially have something to be able to snuff it out when you don't need a fire anymore? Or should it still be just kind of the simple mechanic that currently exists, where it automatically lights and it automatically is extinguished when you pull it out and put it away?
I think that you should have to light it with something. Putting it away is different. You could put it right into the ground. So you can assume that when you're putting it away, you're doing that first. Definitely to light it, you should have to have some kind of fuel or fire or something like that to do it.
Your garbage 5. The answer is there is no date for early access. It's when the early access version is feature complete enough that they're willing to release it to us. There are so many zombie survival games that have stalled out. They don't want this to be one of them. They want this to be the one that everybody goes to, where it starts awesome in the very earliest states and it gets way, way better from there. So yeah, like it says in the green text there, there's no date. It's a feature completeness thing.
I'm hoping around Christmas.
Yeah, then or sooner. I didn't mean to redirect though. Briefly, what was it that you were just saying a second ago, Kremchek? I want to kind of continue on that.
Yeah, I was saying that you should have to have something to light your torch, because that just makes sense. You should have to have some kind of fuel or something to start a fire in some way. To put it out, I think it would be okay just to assume that you're snuffing it into the ground. There shouldn't be some like, an extra item.
Yeah. Well, I've never tried to snuff out a torch in the ground. It seems like it wouldn't be the easiest thing. You'd have to like pile some dirt on it or something, or find some really, really moist ground that you can actually shove it into, and then of course doing it at some sort of an angle so you don't burn your hand in the process.
Well, you could possibly make it where if you light something, then you lose the part of the torch that you would be lighting. So you'd cut it off or something like that, and you only have 5 or 10 lights on a torch before you have to find a new or craft a new one, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
That could work. Definitely tying it to durability could be a thing. I almost kind of like the idea of just being able to leave a burning torch somewhere on the ground, because it's going to keep going for a little while as a makeshift sort of beacon.
Well, what about flares? I mean, most cars these days carry some kind of flare on, especially police vehicles, ambulances, and so on. I think a road flare would be a really nice light source. You can throw it if you need to, so the zombies might chase after that instead of chasing after you. You can set a zombie on fire with it, and you could also start a fire with it to cook your food or whatever you need. Maybe even boil some water over a flare.
Yeah.
You never know.
Well, it puts out pretty hot heat, doesn't it? Like relative to a
Yeah.
candle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all like a sulfur burn or something, right? The metal stuff that shoots out.
Oh, like
So
magnesium or something.
yeah, something like that.
And you can definitely light a campfire with a flare in H1Z1. I've done it.
Oh, nice.
Just drop the flare. Yeah.
Very cool. That'll be
So that
That'd be nice. Now, I wonder if a road flare, if that's the sort of thing that if you have enough of them, you can kind of strap them together and make some sort of a bomb out of it. Possibly using that with something else as a, I don't know. I'm not sure you.
I don't think they're explosive. They're just more of the sizzle type of stuff.
Right.
I mean, it'd probably make a great fuse for a bomb.
That's true.
You can have it sticking out of a gas tank, and as it blows down, I don't know, it might blow up that way.
All this
Yeah,
toxic
definitely.
boiled water. The water doesn't care what the heat source is. It's more what it's the actual container that it's boiled in. But yeah, no, the water being toxic, like we're talking about things that are cutting, off somebody's end of life lifespan. This is a survival situation. You're more worried about your day-to-day lifespan. So, I don't know, that could be something for the if you've got a character that survived and played for 10,000 hours without dying, maybe it develops some weird condition from drinking plastic water or whatever, but otherwise, I don't think that would really be an issue with this sort of thing. Even surviving a week
Well,
would be an achievement.
yeah, I was gonna say you survived that long, man. You're the guy to freaking H1Z1.
Yeah.
You're the new general or colonel or whatever they called that guy in Walking Dead.
No, it's
Or you're sitting in
basically
a corner.
you're basically the warlord atop this throne with pretty much the wasteland in front of you and a fleet of vehicles and that sort of thing. I just imagine a some sort of a dictatorship like or rule by power sort of thing going on. But yeah, no,
The governor, the governor. That's what it
yeah,
was.
there you go. That's right, the governor. So the airdrop. We got to see the airdrop. 3 boxes were dropped and it was done with a developer cheat. And they had weapons in them. They didn't have ammo, but they had weapons. That seems really weird, but okay. Um, it seems like if you're gonna, take the time to put a shotgun and a pistol in a box, you would load it with boxes of ammunition. But yeah, okay.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, airdrop. I could see being supplies to survive. Give us hatchets, give us machetes, give us food. Um, Guns with no ammo. I could do without that. I'd rather see the hand tools and the food being dropped out of those things.
Gotcha.
Now the funny part is, what are you going to do when you see the group approaching the airdrop supply box? Are you going to hang back and try to pick out the last surviving member? Because it's going to be a big brawl for most of that stuff. No one's going to work together at first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a lot of people walking up to the box and getting hit from behind, and then that next person walks up to the box and gets hit from behind, and yeah, that's I see a lot of that sort of thing happening. But at the same time, keep in mind when the airdrop hits down, other things have seen it. Wildlife has seen it. They might come by to investigate. Zombies might have seen it. They might come by to investigate. So the players fighting each other for it might be the last phase of a long and drawn out battle to clear everything from the area first.
Yeah.
Especially depending where it drops. I wonder if they'll actually drop on top of houses and potentially damage the house or knock it in or something like that, or if they're specifically dropping out in open clearings in areas where it won't be an issue.
I would assume
Well,
that it's just going to drop in areas.
I'm thinking that you're out there doing something, all of a sudden you hear the engines of the plane flying overhead, and you're like, where is it? Which direction is it heading, and where is it coming from? You want to track the plane as much as possible, but while you're doing that, you have to look ahead and say, okay, there's like 5 zombies that way, a pack of wolves that way. What's going to be the best way for me to go in the direction the plane went?
Right. And then also you can see the airdrops coming from a long ways up. They drop for a long time. It takes a few minutes, it seems like, for them to come down. So there might be a battle going on even before they've actually touched down.
Yeah. Yeah, and one thing that I've seen a lot of controversy about is that for the airdrops, they might have microtransactions. What do you guys think about that?
Oh yeah, that seems like that's part of how the airdrops are going to happen, is someone purchases an airdrop on the server for the entertainment value that somebody is going to be able to loot the rewards from it, but mostly that a bunch of other people are going to die in the process because, everyone's a bunch of greedy people, unless one big group of people just all gets in their jeeps and they roll out there and they divvy stuff up diplomatically because they've got something in place for it.
Right.
Because, you see 2 or 3 jeeps roll up and surround an airdrop, probably best to stay back. They're probably going to kill you.
I wouldn't mind it being a microtransaction. I mean, if it can give me some stuff that I can use, whether it's now or down the road, yeah, you know what? I'd pay $5 or $10 just to see the battle that would ensue about it. I'll just sit on a hillside and say, all right, drop it there. I'm going to sit here and watch those 12 idiots kill each other, and then I'll walk up to the last one and kill him myself.
And hope that you are the last one, and there isn't 2 or 3 behind you waiting to do the exact same thing.
Right.
Yeah, that will be a lot of fun to see how that goes down, how those will play out in the world, and also what kind of stuff they're going to drop, if it's just going to be weapons or if they're actually going to have larger airdrops that will contain vehicles or bike parts or something. Because that's, I think, how a lot more of the fancier and exclusive items will probably end up being introduced to the server is through airdrops that you can only get a fully automatic assault rifle or carbine from an airdrop, and otherwise you're only going to find the civilian versions in houses and loot points for a good long radius outside of where you'd normally be starting. So we saw some drugs. We saw the generic immunity booster and the Hyperferon anti-H1Z1 syringe. So the generic immunity boosters were a pill, and I believe that helps to prevent being able to get the infection, or otherwise being able to reduce the levels of it. And likewise with the Hyperferon, it sounds like it's able to potentially reduce levels of the H1Z1 virus infection, or be able to prevent it from at least getting worse. They didn't specify anywhere. I would imagine these come from that fictitious Kurama Pharmaceuticals that was doing the drug testing and all of that stuff, and potentially might have caused the infection. So that's kind of neat, because that's giving some items that can help players have a better chance against the infection, or finding a way to be able to mitigate it, rather than just knowing that it's going to eventually take over and kill them. One other thing on the subject of medicine and healthcare in the game: bandages, easy to craft. They only give you 10% health, but a bandage plus some water with some salt that creates saline, bandage and saline, that actually creates a first aid kit that will slowly but surely get you to 100% health. Now, once again, all the numbers for everything is all in flux right now, and I don't know that anything's going to be permanent in the state that it's at, any of the levels, any of the numbers or anything. But what do you guys think about the kind of all of this stuff here, the immunity boosters and the Hyperferon that kind of it claims to be able to resist H1Z1, as well as the differential levels of the bandage versus the first aid kit and how much they can help restore?
I think it's definitely something that needs to be in the game, especially the drugs to combat the virus, because the virus is basically going to be in at some point in everyone. So they can't make a game where you have to die at some point, because that would make all the progress you're gaining pointless. So with that, it's really important to have. And I like actually that the bandages don't do so much, and then you have to craft a different first aid kit, just because a bandage really won't do that much. It's just going to kind of mitigate what's happening at the time. It's not going to make you better like a first aid kit might.
Right.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. It's crafting bandages is one thing. Getting the ointments and the antibiotics that you need to actually disinfect the wound, stitch up the wound, everything. You're going to need a first aid kit or a medical kit for that. So hopefully
Yeah.
those will be in the game and findable. And that would be a skill you would have to learn, just like in the military, stitching up your own wounds on the battlefield.
Yeah.
Something you might have to do in game.
Yes.
Of course, that kind of goes back to the whole James Bond MacGyver. Your character starts as the most capable and physically fit person that ever lived, so seems like being able to stitch up your own wounds wouldn't be too much of a problem.
I told you, I want to be the guy in sandals, Bermuda shorts, and Hawaiian shirt that just got off the plane and like, what the fuck is going on?
There you go.
I don't know if you watch the TV series Last Ship, but they're going through the similar thing on the TV series with the virus killing off the world. No zombies, but the whole world population things.
Right, right.
And the last episode I saw, they were trying to do crowd control, where the governor of the city or the new president or whatever was giving these drugs to patients to actually kill them. There was no cure, but they're trying to stifle the population from spreading the plague even more. So something like that could be happening in H1Z1 too, with this pharmaceutical company. Maybe there's not a cure. Maybe they want you to think there is a cure, but in the meantime, they're culling the population.
Potentially.
So
that was the thing, though, with the character Mama from the Survivor Radio, is that she used to pretty much have like horrific allergies that, like, going out for a day in the grass would put her down for a week with various issues and stuff. So that and then she said that after the drugs from Karama came through, no more. She could stick her nose in a big old bag of grass and just have absolutely no problem whatsoever, and that the drugs actually do work. And then Double D confirmed that, saying, yeah, since the incident occurred, I can't really think of anybody who's actually gotten ill or getting ill myself. So some amount of the drugs do work, but we're not sure like what the interaction is. I always think it's like, well, either the drugs will protect you from everything, or they kill you and turn you into a zombie. And then so it's definitely something that still hasn't been explained in full yet. So I've got some stuff to go through here still. We've got about 20 minutes left. I want to give enough time for everybody to be able to go through what we're all about and all of that sort of stuff. I don't know why she'd have a bag of grass. I don't think it was specifically a bag of grass, but you'd have to watch or listen to.
It's a bag of weed.
Yeah. No, I don't believe it was that either. I think it was just the description of, like, not being affected by the allergies anymore, when previously everything was just terrible for this individual. So, going down the list, whether or not it's stuff we've covered. So, wind, they want to have it in the game, but it's not in yet. Lighters aren't consumed when you light a campfire. Hooray! It wouldn't make sense if they were. The ability to leave signs and notes in the world is coming soon, and I think that's great. Being able to leave a little note, just a written note someone can loot and read, as well as being able to actually put up a sign with a message on it the person can come up and read, and it's more of a slightly permanent thing in the world until I chop it down with a wood axe or run it over with a vehicle. And if there's any comments any of you guys have on any of these things, go for it, because, like I said, we're just kind of in speed round right now.
Yeah, for the signs on the trees, I think that's a really cool thing. Because in such an open world, you're not going to have really any way, and with no map, possibly, there's going to be no way to find yourself or find your way around. So leaving a note for yourself for the way back might be a really cool thing.
For sure. And I think that would also be nice to be able to mark trees along the way so you can kind of figure out where you went and try to find your way back if you need to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Even if, like I say, take your axe, get a couple notches in the tree just to mark where you've been, where you're heading to, and leave signs for a friend you're going, that might know a certain code.
Yeah. Being able to do like one notch high and low on one side of it, and then go to the other side and put a notch for the direction you're actually headed or whatever, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You could definitely see something like that. Or using a shovel and creating ground mounds is another thing. Being able to dig up a little dirt mound and stash items in it. They said if you want to like stash a pistol or something and be able to come back and find it later, someone else can come through and loot it too. But if you put it somewhere that's kind of out of the way and not very obvious, then there's a good chance you'll be able to come back and find it later on. That could be a lot of fun. Just making 5 ground mounds in a wedge to kind of point an arrow for where you want the person to go, and then of course leading them into a pile of zombies or bears or something. But because that's what you got to do with that sort of thing. It can't all be helpful stuff. You got to troll people. So they talked about zombie senses when you've got the H1Z1 virus in different levels, being able to have different parts of it. And one of the things they said was the scent tracking indicators. I wasn't sure what the indicator was, but they've said specifically it's a scent tracking indicator that you'll be able to see little nodes along the way of where someone had previously been, and being able to use that to track other players or potentially zombies and other animals in the world as well. So some pretty cool stuff there. I really like that. Any thoughts real quick?
Well, I know I got to level 2 at SOE Live, and all that really happened for me was that my sight was blurry, and I was kind of staggering around a little bit. But it was kind of neat to actually be able to progress, because I hadn't heard of anybody else progressing to level 2, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think I might have hit level 2 on one character that ended up having to be deleted afterwards or something. But yeah, it was actually the character I deleted the character. Then I think I created a new one with the same name, or that the character died and respawned, or some weird situation where they should have still had the virus, but they still totally did. And yeah, level 2. But I didn't really see much effect because there was no one else to be able to see the little heat markers to be able to track them down with.
Right.
Or scent markers or whatever. They've said they want to have a moon cycle and a star map, so that'd be really nice to be able to add that extra level of immersion to the game, and kind of showing that there's stuff going on and seasons and all of that. Though I've been saying, and I'll say it again, with an accelerated day-night cycle, do we have Christmas 4 times a year? Is that really going to be a thing? Because I mean, many a comedian and many a show has joked about Christmas in July, and that is kind of when advertising for Christmas begins. So I could definitely see that being a very interesting sort of tie-in that they could do. Is we have on this server, because there's 4 days for actual real world day, we just go through all the holidays and all of that stuff 4 times as fast, all the seasons and everything. So and then once again, this was going back to the subject of a moon cycle and a star map. It would be great having all of those features. Halloween 4 times a year would be nice. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool especially for H1Z1, because I'm sure it'll have awesome Halloween content.
Well, I mean, I'm wondering what the zombies might eventually mutate into. Are they going to drop their flesh? What was that one movie, Warm Bodies, where once the flesh fell off the skeletons, they were the faster, more deadlier undead?
Interesting. I had been thinking about that actually, and this is a completely different sort of context than H1Z1 whatsoever. But the idea of a necromancer who raises skeletons and then putting armor on the bones of the skeleton rather than the crappy, human armor or whatever that's just kind of loosely floating on them. But anyway, completely different subject. Just putting it out there. They're saying the best loot is upstairs. Anytime there's a two-story house, the best loot is upstairs. So I don't know if they're just joking about it or if that's actually the case. But I kind of think that's a neat concept. That people would be trying to hold out higher up. They'd be having more of their firearms there and trying to fire at longer distance targets, and having more of the lower floors barricaded up, and potentially having materials to make barricades hanging around, especially if they were actually hanging out trying to hold out against the apocalypse before getting taken down or running out of supplies or whatever.
Most definitely. I'd like to see more stuff upstairs. Can zombies go upstairs? I mean, have we seen zombies walk upstairs?
I'm pretty sure they can. I know the wolf was trying to chase them upstairs, so I'm pretty sure they can get upstairs. I don't know how easy it'll be for them to do that with player-made structures versus the kind of static structures that are built into the world, where they'll be able to have the terrain pathing and stuff built in a lot better. Zentika's craft armor, trash can chestplate. I'm sure they'll have makeshift armor we'll be able to craft, but it'll probably take some significant tools and materials to be able to properly do that. But it'll definitely be the sort of thing I'm sure we'll be able to do. I probably even need like a real high temperature furnace or something, but actually be able to make ceramic plates to replace the ones that would go in the higher grade military body armor that exists these days. There's going to be a backpack digging animation, so you'll actually be able to see some person going through their goods from a distance rather than them just kind of standing there not doing anything. So that'll be great, and that's one more reason why you want to have buddies, so that way if you're going through your loot, someone can't see that you're doing that and just sneak up on you real easily.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, and that's it for that post-it. Was there any...
I wanted to hit on something that Cody had asked earlier. He was saying, is there going to be like a Hunger Games style server rule set or something like that? And
what would that mean exactly?
Just basically, you get on and everybody has one life. But I do know that the devs are saying that there are going to be different game types. So I don't know if it's going to be like a server rule set, but you are going to be able to make a game type, like a PvP game type or something like that, and play that game and then just be done. And then you would go back to your open world.
I could see that. I mean, I could definitely see a server where it's you're restricted from creating a new character for 1 week after your character dies, and having a few of those servers so people can play in rotation on them. I could definitely see that. But I'm sure there's going to be a large variety of different server types out there. Like, I'm sure there's going to be ones that are, like it's been talked about on previous episodes, and they themselves have talked about a little bit, the idea of having more of an arcade style server where you're just going on and there's tanks and there's all sorts of ammo and weaponry around, and it's less about trying to survive in the zombie apocalypse and more about learning the weapons and tools and equipment in the game in a very simple environment where there's like a low punishment if you die, because then you just respawn back at the base, grab more supplies, and go out again.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll probably see a diverse, just a very vast variety of different server types and rule sets, especially when we actually start buying our tokens and voting on servers and having them actually follow up and implement it. So should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Yeah, Jane, H1Z1, where they're fleshy zombies, not nanite zombies. Because, yeah. Anyway, so that's pretty much all the content we have to talk about here. Was there any last stuff you wanted to say about the build that we saw at PAX and were able to discuss here, or the build at SOE Live, or some details between the two of them, or anything?
It looks prettier on PAX than it did at SOE Live. Looks like they cranked up some of the graphics. It also looks like they had more housing developments at PAX than they did at SOE Live. It was definitely more in the wilderness at SOE Live. Now it looks like you're more in the suburbs. And I still can't wait to see the city that they showed a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So
I would
but
say
that's about it for me.
I'm about 90% sure that they did have that infrastructure and those cities and stuff, because I did come across it at SOE Live. But it was definitely very far removed from the area that we were starting in. So it was there, but it's a large area, and we didn't really get a lot of time to play. So, people seeing features that other people didn't see, totally reasonable with the amount of time we're able to play. The only people that have really been able to see everything is probably Clegg and anybody else is working on level design, and everybody else, you see parts of it, but knowing the entire map and being able to learn it like somebody who's been playing a Counter-Strike map or something for 5 years and they know every inch of it. That's nobody's really got that knowledge. He's probably not even the level designers with that big of an area. So, one last question here we'll answer, and then we'll get into the wrap-up process. Something Forge Light for EQ landmark, able to dig bunkers and underground bases. Well, I really think it would have been a lot more difficult to do H1Z1 on a voxel-based engine, because there's so much that pathing is going to be a major part of H1Z1, and it's going to be a big part of Landmark and EverQuest Next as well. But at the same time, they're looking to get this game wrapped up and shipped out a lot sooner, I think, and this is going to be probably one of their quickest development cycles for any of their games. So I don't think they're too worried about the ability to build underground. That's a feature they could eventually implement later on. I think they're more worried about the idea that everything is going to be able to path around the terrain as precisely and meaningfully as possible, because that's going to be a very, very major point to the game, that things actually move in a realistic way. That's actually one of the biggest complaints about DayZ that I keep hearing is, oh yeah, and then this zombie totally went through the wall, and what the hell good are walls for? So they don't want that. They want everything to look and feel like it belongs in that world, rather than something that was just placed there and is trying to follow the rules as best as possible. So that being said, we're going to start getting into the wrap up here, so I'm not going to talk too much about myself here. Legendary Neurotoxin, just follow the channel here, and I stream every day 10 to 2 p.m. Pacific, and then weekdays from 8 to 11 Pacific, and talk shows, stuff on the weekend. So yeah, not going to get into too much detail. There's a lot of stuff. Daddio, why don't you kind of tell us about what you're up to, your Twitch and your YouTube, and what we can normally see you doing during the week?
All right, my normal streaming hours are from lately they've been from 7 a.m. till 2 p.m. Eastern. My main hours are from 10 till 2, just about 4 hours every day. Today I'm on hour 13 and a half right now, so I've been streaming since about 7 o'clock this morning. We have a landmark event happening at 9 o'clock tonight, Celebrity Deathmatch Arena. We have some people signed up. We're ready to go. Mostly streaming landmark. Also, today's my birthday, so happy birthday, Daddio. It's been a blast, and we've given away quite a few things in landmark today. Hit 1,500 followers tonight. Gave away a landmark Trailblazer pack and a bunch of other good stuff. And if you guys are coming over to the Celebrity Deathmatch, we'll be giving away some more stuff. So follow me over to Landmark right after this, 9 o'clock Eastern. So that's about it for me tonight.
Sounds good. That should be a lot of fun. All right. It seems this Gage guy knows you, Kremchek. He said...
he does. He's actually my cousin.
Yeah, he said sup cuz earlier. Yeah. Nice hat. Good one, Daddio. So yeah, Kremchek, why don't you kind of tell people what you're going to be about here, what you're going to be up to, and where people can find you.
Yeah, so I'm Kremchek, of course, and I haven't yet started streaming, but soon I will. I will be doing it every day. I don't have the hours worked out or anything like that, but as sometime soon you will be able to follow me on Twitch as Kremchek. Twitter, of course, I'm at Kremchek21. So you can catch me either of those places. I will likely be doing a lot of Landmark, so maybe a little bit of World of Warcraft if people want that. Some SWOTOR, possibly. I really love MMOs, and that's probably what I'm going to be doing the most, as well as a little bit on Xbox One. And yeah.
Awesome that. So, everybody, you know what to do. Definitely be following these awesome people here. And of course, definitely be ready to tune in next week for more Dead Feature Rant, because it will be back same time next week with potentially more information, because they're going to be coming back from PAX, and there's probably going to be a lot more work going into. I don't know if there's any more conventions coming up that they're ramping up for, so it's most likely going to be development for the next little while here. So that should be a lot of fun. So before we go here, I definitely want to send everybody along to a raid, and that raid, of course, is going to be to Daddio's channel, because he's going to be streaming here, and I'm going to be going to get some dinner or something. So definitely, it's very easy here, and we'll type it in chat. It's just twitch.tv/Daddio66. Isn't that correct?
That's it.
All right. This is the place. Everybody, go there. Be there or be a rectangle. All right. Wrapping it up. Thank you very much, everybody. I will see you later.